Yeah.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everybody. Okay, we begin this morning with the Commissioner's Office requesting the board approve the minutes from the 25th of March.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Stevens?
Aye.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spillier?
Aye. Okay. Commissioner's Office is requesting board approve and execute minutes for the meetings of March 27, 2014.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Stevens? Aye. Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spillier?
Aye. Commissioner's Office is requesting board approve resolution 14-05 for the financials, April 1st.
So moved.
Second.
Thanks, Heidi.
April Fools. Nice to see you.
Do you want to do a roll vote, or do you want to finish, or do you want to actually do a vote? No,
The,
let her talk.
Okay, we just have cash transfers out of the general fund for portions of 2014 funding for sheriff's 800 communications and the 911 program operating funds. We have a request for clerk of courts, commissioners, community development, maintenance, public defender, and the treasurer's office, and a payment to Geauga Incorporated for the annual software maintenance contract for the sheriff's 911 GIS mapping program, in the amount of $11,705.
all right, thank you.
Commissioner Stevens?
Make that motion. I did make it already.
Yeah. Well, I'll second it again, so.
Commissioner Stevens?
Aye.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spillier?
Aye. Okay, the Office of Community Economic Development. Morning.
How are you?
Item number 4 is our first status report for grant BF 181. We have not brought in any funds yet. It's in the process of draw, but we have expended some, which is typical because we're in the end of, well, we're done with the first quarter already. So it's typical of that. So our numbers need to match between our office and the auditors and the states, which they do, and this is what the report is stating.
Okay, if we could read number 4.
The Office of Community and Economic Development is requesting the board approve and authorize the president of the board to execute the Ohio Community Development Block Grant Program status report for grant number B-F-13-1AZ-1 for the period September 1st, 2013 through March 12th, 2014.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Stevens?
Aye.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spillier?
Aye, motion's approved. Then you could probably cover 5, 6, and 7 all at once.
These are release of bidder performance bonds for our last grant that we did, and the projects are completed and approved, and we're done with that grant.
Okay, if we could read 5, 6, and 7.
The Office of Community and Economic Development is requesting the board release the bid performance bond for Peterson Construction for the Pleasant Hill County Home Bathroom renovation project as all specifications have been met. The Office of Community and Economic Development is requesting the board release the bid performance bond for Infinity Paving Company for the Chagrin Falls Park Community Center parking lot improvement project as all specifications have been met. The Office of Community and Economic Development. Hold on a second. The Office of Community and Economic Development is requesting the board release the bid performance bond for Peterson Construction for the Pleasant Hill County Home Bathroom renovation as all specifications have been met. The Office of Community and Economic Development is requesting the board release the bid performance bond for Infinity Paving Company for the Chagrin Falls Park Community Center parking lot improvement project as all specifications have been met. The Office of Community and Economic Development is requesting the board release the bid performance bond for Peterson Construction for the Huntsville Township Gymnasium ADA renovation project as all specifications have been met.
I'll make a motion for all 3.
Second.
Commissioner Speedy?
Aye.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spillier?
Aye, all 3 motions approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
No problem. And then we've got the Department of Emergency Services. Dale?
I'll just stand. Sit down.
There's one right over here.
Yeah.
Right there. Oh, that's Cheryl.
Sheriff, how you doing?
Good, let me go around.
How are you?
Good to see you. Good to see you.
I didn't know you were putting back here, they give you mine.
Thank you, sir.
How are you? Good. You need one, or are you good?
Oh, I got one.
Okay.
These stats were given to me by head of the sheriff's office, and kind of give you an idea of, since last January, how many, and it's broken into three parts. The first part is the notifications of the various police, fire departments, and the sheriff's staff pages. And it'll show you how many times it was utilized per month, and then how many people reached underneath it. So you see that 790,317 people received. You want to expound, Sheriff?
This is the system we used for texting, group texting, fire departments, EMS, law enforcement entities, in the event of emergencies. It's how we call volunteer firemen to come to a scene that they have an emergency. The system works quite well for us. Very reliable. As you can see, pretty active. We use it for the fire, EMS, law enforcement. It's 190,000 messages last year. We also use it for notification of the population, public. It's something else the system can do. It's subscriber base. Those residents who would like information about emergencies and things that may be occurring in their community can sign up. You can sign up to receive email, web information, as well as text messaging to their phone. The beauty of being signed up is, for example, if there was an emergency in your home communities and you're signed up, even though you're here, you'll get a notification. If part of that notification is to evacuate or stay away from the area, whether you go to a relative's house, a friend's house, or wherever, the system will find you to give you an all clear that you can come back as well. So we've used it for everything from hazardous materials issues to we have a lost person, child, Alzheimer's, whatever, just the ability to notify residents.
Amber Alert too, or no?
Absolutely, absolutely would be an example where it would be used for that. But clearly, the bulk of the business is it's a staple for us as far as how we page out fire and rescue law enforcement.
Yesterday, I asked another county with comparable population what they were using, and they were using a system called Code Red. And it's Asheville, and they have a similar population. And they're paying $29,000 a year, so we're 10,000 under that. We've also looked at Rapid Notify and a couple other vendors. And I was told Scott was having his 800 communications coordinator write a program to interface it with the CAD system. And he's halfway done with that. And if he does that, he's saving the county by programming this himself hundreds of thousands of dollars. So that's a good thing. And I was looking at the meetings from last year, and one of the residents asked about security. So page 2 gives you an overview of the security. And as you can read that, we have the highest level of security. And you'll see some of the agencies that are listed in there as to who utilizes the system, and the fact that the information is kept secretive. It's not something you can get out, because there's a lot of numbers in there that are kind of sensitive. In the third page, if you agree to this contract, working with the Sheriff's Department, our agency, and the local emergency planning committee, we came up with a multi-fold flyer which we want to get out to the general public as we go out and teach. We teach, and we meet with various community groups like the Rotary and township trustees and all that to get this out, in addition to the fact that it's on the sheriff's website, perhaps get it on some of the local township and village websites also. So to get more people to sign up for the public notification system part of it. And I think I explained last year that
In a meeting, sorry.
we had looked at a countywide siren system for Geauga County. which don't wake you up in the middle of the night, can tell you when you're outside, to go inside, to listen to something, to tell you what's going on. The initial outlay for a countywide siren system is between $4 and $5 million just for the system. That does not include getting poles placed, land acquisition, running the power to them, and the annual maintenance of it. So I think this is a very cost-effective way to notify our population, as opposed to a system that only tells you if you're outside, you should know there's severe weather. If you're outside, to go inside and listen to your television or radio. So pretty much covered all the bases.
And then the back of the page, is that all about?
It's part of the
Part of
tri-poll.
the-
It's part of the
it's
whole
all
thing.
part
I
of
just
the
didn't
whole
throw it
thing.
into it.
Okay, I'm
Every
just,
part.
you know, you have the Amber Alert.
Yeah. Trying to tell me. Go ahead, Shirley.
There's a general trend towards reliance on cellular communications. And there are many homes, families that don't have a landline. So while we have reverse 911 and we can use the landline database and cause messages to go out, that won't go to those who have stopped having a landline. So,
Yeah, that was on, actually, Channel 8 News this morning. Where was their call-in topic about how many people have a landline or have gotten rid of their landline and how many people have a cell phone. And one of the people said, well, if you don't have a landline and there's an extended power outage of some sort, that the cellular transmissions, the towers don't work or whatever it was. I don't know how that works. Maybe they have backup generators, I don't know. But they were saying that you couldn't notify these people without landlines.
There's another interesting aspect of when cellular communications gets tied up during emergency situations. You may not be able to call someone, but texting tends to work.
but then during the
That happened
Chardon
during Chardon,
incident,
right.
The call volume overloads the capacity built in by the utility. But texting, because it's a burst, it'll hold it, and if there's an opening, out it goes. Tends to work better. But again,
Okay.
Have enough. Okay.
Do you want to read number 8 then?
No.
Okay.
The Department of Emergency Services is requesting the board approve and authorize the president of the board to execute the one service agreement between the Department of Emergency Services, DES, Geauga County Local Emergency Committee, LEPC, the Geauga County Sheriff's Office, Geauga County Board of Commissioners, and Inspiring Logistics for an emergency response notification system for emergency responders and the general public for the period April 1st, 2014 through March 31st, 2015, in the amount of $19,350. $6,450 paid by the Local Emergency Planning Committee, LEPC, $6,450 paid by the Department of Emergency Services, DES, and $6,450 paid by the Sheriff's Office.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Sweeney?
Aye.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spudler?
Aye. Motion approved. All right.
Thank you for your time.
Yep, thank you. Thank
You got one more
You
here.
got another one here, but I don't know.
I got one more.
One more.
The Sheriff's Office, we're requesting that the board release the bid performance bonds for Sabre Communications for the construction of the Troy and Chagrin radio tower sites. All work has been performed to our satisfaction. We've been online for, we're talking about better than a year with that system.
Good.
They met their obligations with us.
So all the holes are filled now, right?
Yes, it's a good way to put it. That's a good way to put it. Radio coverage is greatly enhanced with the completion of the upgrades. The dead spots previously identified, particularly in the Bainbridge area, et cetera, are gone, are filled. So the system, besides having coverage, is very reliable.
We've been
Very
working on
reliable.
that for a good 10 years.
Yep.
I remember.
Now we're ready.
Good.
So if we could read number 9.
The Sheriff's Office is requesting the board release the bid performance bond for Sabre Communications for the construction of the Troy and Chagrin tower sites as all specifications have been met.
I make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Sweeney?
Aye.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spudler?
Aye, motion approved.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Good.
much.
Thank you.
Yep,
Thank you.
deal.
Have a nice day.
And we've got water resources. Gentlemen, morning.
Good morning. Okay, the first item on the list here is we had advertised internally for a maintenance specialist, and Ray Farinacci has the 10 years experience, and he has the operator license, so as part of the union contract, he does qualify to be promoted.
You can read number 10.
The Department of Water Resources is requesting the board approve the promotion of Ray Farinacci to the position of maintenance specialist number 2329 to be effective March 31st, 2014, at a rate of $17.62 per hour with a 180-day probationary period in accordance with the bargaining agreement.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Sweetie?
Aye.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spudler?
Aye. Motion approved. Number 11.
The next one, it does not add a position to the department. It's simply looking to promote someone within the department. I don't know if many of you know Samantha Burley, but 2 years ago, she was hired as our administrative secretary. And I would say probably about 2 months of her time, probably per year, based on sick and vacation and stuff, of our accounts receivable clerk as well as our accounts payable clerk are taken up with Samantha's time, filling in for them when they're not here. Samantha does mostly probably fill in for accounts receivable clerk, Jamie Peck. She does final bills, account maintenance, posting of payments, probably about half of her day on a typical day is spent up with stuff like that. She's also been trained to do the accounts receivable clerk duties as a result of Jamie Peck going on maternity leave here pretty soon. So she has the educational experience. She has a 4-year business degree as well as the experience. So having a person that can float between those two positions as well would probably make the department run a bit smoother. When the accounts receivable or accounts payable clerk has sufficient load that could overwhelm one person, having someone that can step in and help out would be a benefit to the department.
We could do number 11.
The Department of Water Resources is requesting the board grant permission to advertise for the position of accounts receivable assistant number 2332 internally for a period of 5 days.
Make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Sweetie?
Aye.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spudler?
Aye. Motion approved.
Next two are bid bond releases. One's for the Infirmary Creek project, one for the Opalaka project. The Infirmary Creek project was completed and finalized a year ago, last October of 2012, and then the Opalaka was February of 2013. So they've gone through beyond their 1-year maintenance project.
Okay, if we could read 12 and 13.
The Department of Water Resources is requesting the board release the bid performance bond for EnviroCom construction for the Opalaka wastewater treatment plant improvement project, as all specifications have been met. The Department of Water Resources is requesting the board release the bid performance bond for Jack Gibson Construction Company for the Infirmary Creek wastewater treatment plant improvement project, as all specifications have been met.
So move both.
Second.
Commissioner Sweetie?
Aye.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spudler?
Aye.
Thank
Motion
you.
approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
If we can have,
You want me to explain
Well,
that?
yeah.
Yeah. By your personnel policy, when we have an individual that's working at a higher pay grade for an extended period of time, that person is to be paid at an appropriate rate for that position. And this rate reflects step 1 of the executive grade 16, which is the transit director grade. So Mike was appointed to that position on February 28th and has been performing, essentially in that position doing that work. So that by your policy, this is an appropriate step to take.
so 2909 times 2,080. I don't have a calculator here. What do
It's
we?
around 59 something.
And what is the entry level into that?
That is the entry level.
That is.
That is step 1 of executive grade 16.
Okay. Okay, if we could read number 14.
The Commissioner's Office is requesting the board compensate Michael
60,000.
Casper for working outside of the pay grade as interim transit director at a rate of $29.09 per hour to be effective April 2nd, 2014, in accordance with the Geauga County Policy and Procedure Manual.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Sweetie?
Aye.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spudler?
Aye. Number 15.
The Commissioner's Office is requesting the board cancel session for Thursday, April 10, 2014.
Why are we canceling it?
the original plan was is if we really didn't have anything planned for that day
Do
as
we
far
have
as.
thing for Thursday?
I haven't seen anything yet. They have until technically Friday morning to submit anything, so, because it's a week ahead.
Excuse me.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, excuse me, but you have a NOACA.
That's Friday.
Quarterly meeting the day after. And per your last meeting on Thursday evening, it was agreed that Skip Claypool would be able to make his presentation.
No, there was no agreement on that. That has to be approved by the NOACA executive director.
Well, is there a time involved to get that done instead of waiting?
I don't know, he's got to contact her, that's all up to him.
All right, and that seems kind of untimely with the importance of what we've all been talking about here in regards to NOACA, not to have a meeting.
Well, if there's nothing,
Beforehand.
I think that the question that Ralph posed, is there any commissioner business?
Right.
Isn't that what you posed?
Right.
Is there any commissioner business?
There's nothing
I've not
scheduled
received
as of
anything
now.
as of
If there
yet.
isn't
Okay.
anything, then it doesn't make sense.
And as far as for Skip, I mean, he could come in on Tuesday if he needed to, or of
Well,
next
I
week.
think-
If that's what you're saying, like as far as to make a statement, or is that what your concern
Well,
was?
I think that was a matter of discussion on Thursday night.
Right,
Yeah.
my understanding with that was is that he, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'd have to review the tape to see it exactly, but my understanding was is that we were going to make the motion to, or we were going to figure out one way or another for him to present.
That
At-
was,
at
what he had
NOACA.
to do was talk to the executive director, that was up
Okay.
to him.
Okay.
And if you make that request, we made that request to them, it's up to them to put that on their agenda.
Okay.
I'm looking for clarification. Are you talking about his ability to make a presentation here in front of this commissioners, or
It doesn't-
there
it
in
doesn't
front of
need-
NOACA?
Actually, I think it was both, because one of the topics Thursday night was the comment that no one was aware of a presentation that was, prepared by Mr. Claypool, and I remember
That presentation doesn't make any sense to take it to us. The presentation needs to be given to the board at
Okay,
NOACA,
but I
not
think it
here.
was your comment that, as far as you knew, there was no presentation, and it kind of was left hanging, and I don't know that that's,
He has to.
correct or appropriate, but
Right.
more than that, I think, since we have heard chatter about the inappropriateness of NOACA actions, I seem to sense here a lack of preparation to face that issue when it comes up on April 11th. Moreover, I think it would be important, since there is going to be a vote at NOACA, I think it would be important for one of you, or for the commissioners, to at least have a representative from NOACA here before that meeting, so as to present what exactly the issue is that you will be voting on April 11th concerning policy, the policy that you referred to
Well-
as not having been voted on, but coming up for vote on April 11th.
It's coming, the policy that's coming on there is, that's been sent out to all the members. And if he wants to give a presentation, he has to give that presentation to the executive director. That's up to him to do that, if that's what he wants to do.
Okay,
He
was that a
told-
statement you made on Thursday night? That it was up to Skip to contact the executive
Yeah,
director?
it's up to
I don't
him.
recall that.
Yeah, it's
I
up to
frankly don't
him.
recall
I mean, it doesn't, we have already given them our resolution against any NEOSC comments
Any
in the
reference to
policy,
NEOSC.
which all were taken out of the policy.
Correct.
Skip was not there at the
Well,
executive
he was
meeting.
there, but it's
He
my
was there
understanding
for a
he had to
half an
leave.
hour and left. He
Right,
did not
right.
stay
Well,
for the
I
entire night.
understand he was there, but did have to leave.
He was there for, till the lunchtime, he came in when the one committee meeting was over, and then he left. He was not there to address the executive committee, but I read the resolution at that time,
Yes,
that
that's what you
policy,
said.
that was
And we have
taken
not seen
out
anything else
of,
since then.
everything had been taken out.
Correct.
So all of those issues have been taken out. If he wants to
Yeah,
just,
and he's
you
not
know,
saying
have
anything
that
else
presentation
that
to
we're us as far as
NOACA
I'm
where
aware.
it would make sense. It doesn't make sense here, these are not the people, you know.
I guess
Okay,
I have
but
a question,
do
where's
recall-
Skip right now? I mean, he
I mean-
usually comes to our meetings, and now he's not, he
Well,
hasn't missed the last two.
You know, that's up to Skip.
Well, I
I'm
understand
I'm
that, but
making
If you're
my
gonna make a
comment-
resolution,
No,
you
no, no.
have to
I'm
present.
making my comment as a concerned citizen. This has
Right,
nothing to do, this has nothing to do with the presence or non-presence of Skip Claypool. It does have to do with the stand of the commissioners regarding NOACA issues. And it
So, Mrs.
should-
Jones, would it comfort you if we have a session on Thursday,
This week, Thursday?
next Thursday?
We don't have a session this Thursday.
We don't have a session this Thursday, we have one Tuesday, and the Thursday that we had during the day, if we didn't have anything pending for commissioners'
The
business,
issues-
we would cancel it. So, would you feel more comfortable if,
I would think that it's more grounds for preparation for this meeting, and
It-
actually, I would suggest that perhaps it would be helpful to people who want to attend these meetings to be able to talk to a representative from NOACA. Grace Galucci has been here before, and when she was here, I'm recalling that there was no limit on her time. All three of you were very generous with your time with Grace Galucci. She was able to make her presentation without objection or interruption.
and I don't know if we can get her to come in that day, you know, I mean,
I
that would be
understand.
It's
something
the
that-
day before of
The only
I'm just
thing-
assuming the day before she has her meeting, she may have a plate full.
I mentioned to Skip that he could give a presentation. I mentioned it to him that day on March, when we had those policy committee, those meetings. It wasn't a policy committee, it was a governance committee. It was finance, governance, and then executive. Right at lunch, he came in at the end of the governance committee. It was lunchtime, we had box lunches. I talked to him for a few minutes, and then the next thing I know, he was gone. Then we had the executive committee. At the executive committee, the resolution that we all voted on, I read. At that moment, they took out of the policy the
I've seen
problem.
the
That was
text.
removed,
I've seen the text.
yeah, and it was removed.
I
And
think the question on the part of many residents as after being, you know, in attendance here Thursday night, not necessarily my own opinion, but I do detect a strong suspicion on the part of people who attended this meeting as to the veracity and the trustworthiness of NOACA or NEOSCC. And I think I did express to this body here that this is not the only county where there is a grassroots movement. People, it would appear, are upset in many counties about this, and I think it might be important to clear the air to make sure that this organization is actually doing something helpful for the county.
Which organization, this one?
NOACA.
Yeah, I would think they're doing something for the county when we do receive part of our gas tax money back
Not
in the
a
form.
very good part of it.
Okay, gas tax money, 18.4 cents of every dollar goes to the federal government. The federal
I thought
government
it was
returns.
28.
Excuse me?
It is 18?
No,
Thank you.
let me just explain,
Sure.
18.4 cents. Now, they're going to have a big discussion on this, they are going to talk about this on the meeting, I do know that. 18.4 cents goes to the federal government, of which the federal government keeps 10.5%, and the rest is distributed throughout the state of Ohio to the various MPOs and to rural areas, okay? That's 18.4 cents. The other 28 cents of the gas tax money goes directly to ODOT. ODOT
Okay.
does not return anything to anybody until they decide who it gets it.
Understood.
So you've got 18.4 and 28.4. Cities like Cleveland cannot get any ODOT money. ODOT money goes for roads that are within the state, and places like rural counties, we're not considered rural because our boundaries are near the urbanized areas. So the monies that we receive come through NOACA, through that money that the federal government, the 90 or 89.6% of the money that they distribute back. Geauga gets a very small sliver of that, which is 35 million. The rest is distributed to other counties or MPOs, which are Metropolitan Planning Authorities.
And to follow that one up,
So-
I have taken upon myself, there was a comment made at Thursday's meeting, a reference to Ashtabula and the suggestion that Ashtabula was not a member of an MPO, but was
But they are.
collecting funds. And yes, they are.
They are.
I have taken it upon myself to check with other county officials in other counties in Ohio. And I am asking questions. There's no guarantee I will get the answers to the questions that I've asked, but I'm willing to explore it and to share that information with you if and when that it becomes available. And it does have to do with how do other counties who are not members of MPO, and there are a number of them. in
Other
Ohio.
counties that are not members of
Not members.
MPOs are mostly rural counties, and they have a rural funding that comes through ODOT for them. That's why they do not have to go through an MPO, because they get that rural money, county money.
And why isn't Geauga County? I know you indicated
Because-
And we're
before
connected
there's
to
Like I
a
said,
population
we are,
center.
we have, the city of Chardon plus the city of Cleveland, we're within the urbanized area. And these are the rules set forth, not by us.
Right.
But that is why there are more rural counties in the state of Ohio than there are urbanized.
Right, and I still have trouble with the concept that Geauga County is an urban neighborhood. We've been through this before, but Chardon with a population of under 6,000 and a county with a population of under $100,000, or 100,000 people, seems to raise question marks in my head as to
I
the
asked that
appropriateness.
question, Mrs. Jones,
I
and
know
the
you
answer
did.
that I got from Geauga, and I wouldn't want to go to the electric chair on this, because I didn't, this is the answer I got, was that the counties that do not belong to an MPO are not contiguous with a population county. Cuyahoga County is a county that's considered a population county, and like us, or like Lake County, are contiguous to that county. Counties to the east of us, apparently we're like an insulator or something, they're not contiguous to Cuyahoga, and we are. Now, that's the explanation I got. I'm not sure that's correct, but that's the explanation
It's
I
about
got when
the
I asked.
the urbanization boundaries that
And
are
so-
set forth through the
So
legislature.
many counties in the south are not
They're not.
contiguous to a population center, and I don't know what defines a population center. I'm sure there's a number, but I don't have it.
Right, well, I've taken it upon myself to do this research, and there's no guarantee that I will get an answer, although so far I have found the entities who have responded to me by email to be very responsive, so hopefully we might get a little bit more information that I'd be happy to share later on with you.
And it's not always fair what some of the non-urbanization areas get in money when you consider the population there, when they'll get, there's some very, there's examples where they've gotten an awful lot of money for an area that doesn't have the population to support it. But those are the rural boundaries, and ODOT makes those decisions. That's where a lot of your gas tax money decisions are sitting. When you figure 28 cents of every dollar is decided by ODOT, whereas 18.4 cents federally is decided by the federal government, where they keep 10.5%. So there's a major discretion, and it's kind of like the bridge to nowhere when you're talking about the one up in Alaska. Why are they sending that when there's,
Sure, lots of
Can I add
work there.
something to this?
these are the things that, go on.
The other thing we looked into was the possibility that if we have to be in an MPO because of our location,
Right.
could we instead be part of Eastgate, which is Trumbull and Mahoning? And I think Commissioner Smeedy said we're about 6% relative to all of Nowaka. We would be, I think, around 15% of a smaller MPO.
We don't have as much money.
that they don't have as much money, so getting 6% from a larger group nets us more money than, well, we get more than
Okay.
6%. And furthermore, apparently, talking to the engineer's office, Mike Stone, who's been involved with NWACA for years, apparently federal regulations specifically prevent us from attempting to move to a different MPO. So but
I'd
we've
be
looked at these
interested in
things.
seeing those federal regulations if you could.
And then the
find
governor
some.
would have to approve. There's a lot of,
Yeah.
I know what you mean, and I've asked those same questions.
Finally,
So-
have we resolved it then about what the commissioners are going to do in regard to Skip Claypool?
We'll wait till Tuesday, and then I'll find out what he's gonna do. We'll keep this, we'll take this off until I talk to him, and then
Okay.
if he's gonna present something, let him present something, and figure out what he's gonna do. But it's,
Okay.
to be quite honest with you, it's lip service for us here. We all, well, I could say I agree, what he's doing and the motions that he's trying to get done. It's just, we're pretty much powerless, and we're in an organization that's.
They got you hobbled pretty
Right,
well.
so.
Well, no, he has to present his.
And
he has
I'm
to put the
disappointed with
presentation
Mrs. Smity as far as not putting forth the effort to make sure that we could get him scheduled on there. He's given me a presentation that's like 60-some pages long,
Yeah,
which is
you
too
made reference to
long.
that several weeks ago.
And I think that the biggest thing is that if he's going to put his time to try to redo this again, he wanted just some affirmation of being able to do that. And as president of NWACA, I think that we should have a little more
He has
steam
not
to
called
be
me.
able to get in. So if we could just move on.
Certainly.
Number 15, we're going to pass on for today. We'll go to number 16, Jobs and Family Services. Morning.
Morning.
Morning. You all remember Lisa Milgate? I'm administrator. And want to take a few minutes to bring you up to date on some of our efforts with our Medicaid program. I think if I remember back in October, we came just as the Affordable Care Act was getting kicked off and talking about some of the efforts we were involved with and how the systems were working, the changes that, of course, at the federal level, we've all heard and read about that, but also in the state of Ohio, the system that they've implemented or are implementing. And so we've been busy.
Yes.
It's been very interesting.
Yes.
But I wanted to just take a little bit of time this morning. I'm going to turn it over to Lisa and let her bring you up to speed on the challenges that we are dealing with.
I kind of narrowed it down to the three main things that seem to be our biggest stumbling blocks. As we know, it's our job to determine eligibility for the Medicaid programs and to open them to those services. And we are working in, like Tim said, a new system that comes with its own issues as well. The number one thing that seems to be a big obstacle for us is Medicaid has a policy which is called the no wrong application. So essentially what this means is if you come to our agency and you file a paper application for daycare, that can be considered a Medicaid application. If you apply for food stamps, that can be considered a Medicaid application. So we are kind of getting flooded with applications because everything's considered a Medicaid application. In addition to that, there are several portals on the computers right now that you can file an application through. There's benefits.ohio.gov, which is the Medicaid website. There's healthcare.gov, which is the federal website, the marketplace. You can apply for Medicaid there. We have what's called eGateway. That's the electronic application site for food assistance, cash assistance, and also Medicaid. And you can also now apply by telephone for Medicaid. So you don't even need to fill out an application. You just call the Medicaid hotline. They capture what they consider an electronic signature. You verbally, over the phone, tell them, I want to apply for Medicaid, and they consider that conversation an application. So the volume is just huge right now. So I put a few numbers below. From October to February, we have approximately 176 paper applications. We currently are showing approximately 800 cases in our new OIES system. Now that's just our new system. That is not our old system, and which is CRISI. And we have 2 full-time MAGI workers. MAGI is the new way of determining eligibility for Medicaid. currently, and we are in the process of training 2 more workers to try and help carry these cases that we've been assigned.
So one of the challenges when we have electronic portals, so we have, it can come through eGateway, it can come through benefits.gov. There are a lot of cases that have gone through the federal government, now resting in the state of Ohio. When they come to us, they come with all kinds of different information. Someone fills out a paper application, we get, certain information, and if we need to verify, correct, whatever, we can do that. We get an electronic application. It can be completed fully, it can be sparse, it can cause us, we've got to go through the same process no matter. So it comes to us in various shapes from different directions. And that does add to the level of work that we have to do for those applications. And folks have had problems with, they've gone on an application, they filed, they may be then directed to contact us and say, I applied online here, wherever, and can you tell me what's going on? And then we have difficulty locating that because it hasn't worked through the system, perhaps it didn't get. That ends up as very frustrating.
Just one more key point that I wanted to point out. If someone is submitting an application for Medicaid, but it isn't actually the paper Medicaid application or through the Medicaid portals, they aren't asking the correct questions now for us to determine Medicaid eligibility. Medicaid has gone to almost like an IRS type of format to determine eligibility. You need to know how you file your taxes, who you claim as dependents, and so on. Those questions aren't asked on the food stamp application or on the eGateway application. So already when my workers get the application, they're starting out saying, we don't even have the right information to proceed with this case, so they have to go chasing after that information. So that's another obstacle that we're faced with. The second point is the federal applications. These will be the applications that were filed at healthcare.gov. Those applications, the federal government made the decision to hold those applications because when we expanded the volume of applications we were receiving, they thought it might be too much for us to also take the federal applications. So they held on to those. They did drop them down March 31st to the state. The state has yet to release them to the counties because, well, oh, I'm sorry, February 27th, thank you.
Yeah. And then
the state was doing what they called scrubbing them. And that means they were going through a filtering system to determine which ones needed to be dropped down to the counties. They're piloting this right now. March, yesterday.
Pilot to the states, counties, right? One county.
One county, yes. They're just going to do it to one county. So we still don't know when Geauga County is going to receive our federal application.
So what that will be is 500, 600, so many cases all at once. And again, some of those folks applied back the 1st of January, and they're wondering.
And if they make an inquiry up the line, what I've heard from you before, I believe, is that they're then being told, well, check with your county, they have all this stuff.
Yes, they are being told
Yeah.
that.
And you don't
And we
really
don't.
have it yet.
Yes, basically what is happening is they file the application at healthcare.gov. That goes into the federal system, but since it hasn't been dropped down to the county, we can't see the application in our computer system. So if we have someone call our agency and say, what's the status of my application?
Because they were told you have this information.
Yes.
And the trouble is, some of them who have applied and they have paid, then they get letters that say they haven't paid. And I have heard this from several people who have gotten onto it, and they have no record, they can't, then they gotta go down with canceled checks and everything else to prove that they have paid the premium for the health care. And this is going on.
Well, and also, folks who apply with Medicaid, you're actually effective or covered back to the date of the application. So some folks may have applied for the federal site or the state site, say they applied January 15th. Perhaps they had some medical coverage, medical expenses in January or February, whether they paid those personally or they owe a provider, they're looking for the coverage to help with those medical expenses. now we're into April, and they're calling us and saying, I applied, I'm supposed to be eligible, and we
What's
have to
going on?
say,
Right.
we can't find your application. So
Right.
that's a challenge.
And at some point, we're gonna start getting calls at this office, or you're gonna be getting individual
Yeah, and it'll
calls.
be, why aren't we doing something
Right.
about it?
Right.
Well, and what's happening then is, since we're telling them, well, we can't see your application, they're filing an additional application, so now we have duplicate applications. That's the other thing that's kind of stemming from it. Many people now are panicking because of the March 31st deadline, which is understandable.
And it's gone,
Yes,
it's
yes.
April 1.
Yes. So, that's another, issue that we're having, and when we can't see the application, like I said, they're going in and they're filling out another application, be it a paper or through another portal. The last thing that I wanted to bring to your attention is the game is always changing. Back when I was speaking to you, I believe it was last October, I was letting you know the preparations that we had for the game that was in place and the rollout that they had in place. We're learning things sometimes after the public learns them. I came up with 2 examples to let you know of. Last year they kept telling us that the redeterminations for Medicaid would be frozen for the year 2014. So we were making plans and adjustments for our department under the understanding that all our Medicaid established cases we would not have to review and redetermine eligibility for due to this 2014 freeze. Then in December of last year, they said, well, you don't have to redetermine eligibility for everybody, but if A, B, and C happen, we want you to reevaluate those cases. Then in January, they made an amendment to that and said, well, now it's actually these 10 situations.
It's a
Then
moving
in-
target.
Right, so then in March, they said, on another memo, saying, now it's this type of Medicaid, I want you to look for these things and reevaluate, and if it's this type of Medicaid, I want you to look for these things and reevaluate. After we've made, structure changes under the understanding that we wouldn't be having to do this. So again, it's almost like, you're trying to make 3 yards on the football game, and as soon as you're getting closer and
They
closer.
change the goal
they-
line.
Yep, that's exactly what they do. So it's constantly us having to be flexible and adjust to the changes. The other example I brought was that we were notified, I had emailed the state and I said, we have a lot of customers that are upset and concerned about the deadline. What do you want me to be telling these people? I don't know where to send them, who can they contact, because they want to know if it's going to be extended. And in response, they sent me a news article from the Washington Post, letting me know that.
And that's not definitive.
Well, it did let me know that they are going to extend the due date, and basically the article said you just have to go on healthcare.gov and check a blue box. And it's basically a self-attested box saying, I filed for healthcare or for Medicaid, and I haven't received my determination yet, I need an extension. And it's going off the honor system. So I said, okay, I had a meeting with my staff, I said, if you have these, concerned people, please tell them to go to healthcare.gov and check the blue box. So that's what they did, and they went to healthcare.gov, and there was not a blue box to be found. So,
Now we're making sure, we make sure that those blue
Yes.
boxes are there.
absolutely, and so I emailed the state and I let them know that there was no blue box, and they said, oh, that'll be available April 1st, we believe. So I am now checking that website to see
You're not gonna win on this one.
when the blue box.
April 1st, okay.
Yeah. So,
But I do know people who are on it have paid their premiums several
Yes.
months and been told, you haven't paid.
So your best
That I
guess, where are we going here?
Well, we're gonna receive 500 cases or so in the next, I'd say, week to 10 days, once the state works through this. I assume it would be that quickly, I hope so. Works through this process with this one pilot county. That and the existing cases we have right now, we've got 2 staff that are up to speed and trained to work those cases. We've got 2 more in training.
more in training.
And we are pressing into work also with supervisors and the trainer. So the trainer, we can't, it's a double-edged sword. The trainer
You're using
can-
the trainers,
trainer
you're not
can run
training, or they're
applications,
not
but then
training.
they're not training new people to run the applications. But those are things that we're at work, and it's gonna take us some time to get those new people up to speed. We're working overtime, we're doing all the things we can to get the applications through, but it's going to be a large quantity And the problem is, we haven't seen them yet, and some of these folks have been waiting, again, back to January when they apply.
Yeah, they're gonna yell at you even though it's not your fault.
Well,
Right.
Do you see us having to possibly add temporary staff? And then the problem with that is you gotta have people that are full-time trained to move them temporarily over to that and move someone into some temporary position that we don't have to spend all the weeks training for this job to you know, I don't know
And
who
that's-
those people are, I don't know your staff.
that's the challenge we have, which is, you know, we think on the new system, because we're still getting used to it, but we still believe on the new system, it's at least an 8-week training period. And that's someone who can do cases, but then you need to be looking at those cases and make sure that they've been corrected. If that's a food stamp case, it's more like 4 months before they get to that point. So our problem is always living within our budget and having the bodies that you need, because you've got to be looking out, you know,
Right.
8 weeks, 12 weeks before you can actually get them on board. I would love to have a situation where I could say, let's bring 2 people in, we need to use them.
But you
But
can't
they're
use
not
them
gonna
on
do us any-
this.
They're not
no.
gonna do us any good.
You have to
That's-
bring current staff up to
yeah,
speed,
right.
and then move them over there temporarily and bring someone on temporary to sit in wherever current staff is, and it's a I don't wanna, maybe a lower threshold, learning threshold for
Well,
whatever job they move them to.
We look at that constantly, who's, you know, staff, if we have a vacancy, we always will look for staff who've got some basis to either promote or, you know, hire someone from the outside. But there's a lot of people that have done these kinds of work in these systems. A couple of things, I mean, we are using overtime pretty liberally, and we have some funding designated specifically for this Medicaid implementation that is at a higher matching ratio, and we're gonna be using that because we're gonna need that overtime. We also, we're training staff as quickly as we can. We might be talking to Dave to see if there's any room with the policy we have on vacation. We've got some senior staff who, you know, they're running up to their limit of vacation and it's forcing them to take days off, when what would be great if we could wait and have them take that time off in October or something like that. That's not a lot, but we have run into that recently. So there's some things that we're looking at. You know, we could look back and at the system, and I don't know the federal system. Fortunately, we haven't, we're gonna deal with the impact, but we don't have to interact with it that much daily. The state system, the design was to streamline and create sort of a no-touch application. So someone goes online, they enter the information, it flows to the county, we check their taxes, you know, by pinging off a federal hub site, and then the cases just kind of works on it and it flows through. And at one point in time, the idea was that as many as 90% of the cases that we would have at the county level would be no touch. They would have this automated, streamlined fashion. We may get to that someday, but today it's the opposite. It's about 10% that come in and are streamlined, and another 90% need to be worked. And those cases that fall out need to be worked. In the old system, you could put a family in, and you put the family in, parents, children, they were all one case. In the new system, every individual has to be loaded one at a time from a family. And it's not whether there's a driver and you can take the information in. So here's the address and so on and so forth. That's the same for all the family members. You gotta enter it all each time for every family member. So it wasn't designed for working the cases you have to do by entry. It was designed for these cases that are supposed to flow electronically. But they're not flowing, so we're working at 90% of them. And it's bulky.
Well, I see 2 analogies that I can make. One is the first, as far as the caseload and the work, it's no different than having a hard winter and the engineer having to clear snow way more hours than he wants to, so he has to authorize a lot of overtime, and he's got to put a lot of road crews out and salt crews and so on. And it's a similar situation. This is your blizzard right here.
Yeah.
This, and you got to do what it is. And then the other is just a personal observation that if they're asking people who would be filing for this to do it all electronically with technology. I mean, they don't want to ask me to fill that form out. I'll have that all screwed up. And, you know,
They have a phone number also,
well, yeah, yeah.
which you can't get to.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
'Cause the line
If I
is
have to enter it
busy.
online,
It's impossible.
I'm gonna starve.
And that's a good point, because we do have people showing up in our lobby then asking for our staff to come out and help them to apply, you know, through the computer system, so then, you know,
That's the snowfall.
yeah.
That's the
Yeah,
blizzard.
but the difference is the learning curve to do this is so much longer than it would be to have somebody out there plowing.
Plowing snow. Oh, now you're on thin ice then.
Meeting on Thursday then.
Our state, you know, again, the design, what they looked at the future and thought they would do. Yeah, we could look back and say, well, it's a good idea, maybe they should have tweaked it some. But I do want to say that the state has been, as this has started, their responsiveness to us has improved. And they're working on these, you know, on these issues. Lisa has been our county readiness manager, so she goes down once a month with all the other 88 or 87 readiness managers. They go to a meeting, they sit in a big room, and they raise questions and work through it. And the state has become responsive. They have recognized there's a lot more to this, you know, these applications. And, you know, they write the rules for the applications, but sometimes the folks who are designing the systems and the people who, you know, write the regulations and all that don't talk to each other. So it is a challenge for us, but, you know, we have an opportunity to work through this and make it work. It's going to be difficult, but we want to keep you apprised of the situation. And there's not a day that goes by that we're not trying to figure out how to do it a little faster and get more hands on board to make it work.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, and just keep us advised. I mean, like you say, it changes daily.
Well, it's
Do we need to read this?
one of those times in life, so. Okay, thank you. I hope to see y'all maybe in a little bit.
Yeah, that's what we got to
I'm
get
gonna turn it over.
going.
Before we go on, I want to just keep the record straight. When I went to those subcommittees, Skip came over to me and I told him that they were willing to have a discussion between Hunter Morrison and him. They called it a debate. I mentioned it to him. He was not interested. I said, well, if you want to have a presentation, you need to send it to me. He may have sent it to you, Ralph, and I'm disappointed because he never sent it back to me. He never sent me anything. He didn't send anything to Geauga. If he wants to do a presentation, there is no problem. He just needs to send the presentation. And I have not received that. I can push all I want, but it's like pushing on a rope. There's nothing there to push on. I don't have anything. You may, but I don't. That's all I want to say. I just want to set the record straight because him and I talked about it that day, after lunch, right at lunch, and then after that he left.
Acknowledgements from the county dog warden and the sheriff's received. For meetings, we have family services. Today, NEO Consortium canceled. Commissioners will hold regular session on the 8th. Planning Commission on the 8th. Township Association dinner, 6:30 on the 9th. Commissioners will hold regular session on the 10th. NOACA is on 10 o'clock a.m. I believe.
Did the
Adjourn.
planning
If,
commission get canceled?
I have not heard anything.
I thought I got a message, okay.
I
And
haven't seen anything.
before we adjourn, I just, Dave, if you could wait, Joe's on his way, because I definitely would like to have the papers to pick up on this. If you could just fill us in on the whole situation with your conversation with.
Yeah, following Thursday night's meeting, my understanding was the board wished me to reach out to GMHA.
Oh.
So I left a voicemail with Executive Director Neva Rogers, just saying the board, wished to have someone come from GMHA at our next Thursday night meeting, which is April 24th, to provide some insight into the Section 8 program that people expressed concerns about here at last Thursday's meeting. And in the end, I did not hear back from Ms. Rogers. I did hear back from Todd Peterson, who's on the board. and he expressed some reservations to them participating in any presentation here at the board. I think there was some concern about the nature of the questioning or how that would go for them, and so, they didn't say they're not coming, they just expressed some reservations about the idea of coming and talking about their programs here at your meeting. So, just passing that on.
Thank you.
Okay, motion to adjourn.
So moved.